This is Jotunheim Whispers. So, this is the first time of me talking on this podcast, and now I feel a little weird, but also so free of anything because there is no live audience, there is no one hearing me except for my kitties. So, if you can see me right now, if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see what's going on. If you're just listening, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I need to inform you that currently I have a kitty on my lap. Well, to describe the scene more, um, I am laying down in my room, in my bed, under my blanket, and my pillow is not really comfortable. Well, let's fix that. And well, Phoebe, what do you have to say? All right, I agree. I think you are a very wise creature. And yes, she's looking at me with a look in her face and in her eyes as if she knows what I'm talking about. So, I'm sorry, I haven't introduced myself. I should have done that immediately. I feel so. My name is frostjotun, and well, I have a lot of professions slash passions in my life, which I cannot live without. So, mostly I am a composer, a musician. Um, so, oh, um, so if you're just listening to the audio, my cat just looked right into the camera, which is a good thing. Some content for you. Um, Great. Thank you, Mabel. So now you've met both of my kitties. That is very good. So, as I was saying, I am a composer, a violinist, and a pianist, and well, I sing, and then I'm an artist, a poet, a writer, and a little bit of a loser, but I also perform in theater a little bit. I can dance a little bit, and well, I like to cook and to bake and to sew, I guess. So that was a little introduction. So this first episode of Jotunheim Whispers is kind of a first meeting with me as someone who is a very lonely um being. I wouldn't call myself a human, to be honest. So some kind of a being that is sharing their thoughts with, I guess, themselves. So what my plan is to have this little podcast, and I have some topics written out already, so I have the episodes planned for the future, but I am not planning for them to be too long, since, in my personal opinion, most podcasts that last like an hour each episode, they have either several people or a person with an interesting life, which I don't have. So, what I have planned is to just kind of pick a thought or a train of thoughts and then to discuss them with myself for maybe 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 25, depending on how much a topic really interests me. Um, so I'm not sure that anyone would really want to listen to that or watch that. I'm just doing this for myself, and so that's kinda the info for this. And now to talking about myself. So, I really want to give you some more details so we could learn a little bit more. Maybe would learn about me, maybe I would learn something from you if you are the only listener here. If you are, thank you and welcome again. This is my Jotunheim. So, let's start with music, shall we? So, I've been studying music since I was 4, and I guess my primal instrument was piano my whole life before I decided that, you know what? I hate piano. And so I switched to violin when I was in 10th or 11th grade, which was when I really, really started thinking about myself and my future. But most of my achievements are from playing piano. So I was one of the best pianists in my art academy. And now, I mean, I still can play, I still practice, but not as much. And well, violin is way more exciting for me. So this switch up, it happened in 10th grade, as I said, and it happened about a time when I was actually playing a role in theater. So there was this theater production based on Moliere, um, The Imaginary Sick. And so there was this character that did not exist in the play, but it was written in by the director that, you know, came to Ukraine specifically to do this production. And so this character was a violinist. And the role wasn't for me, obviously, um, because I mean, I was 10 at the time and I sucked ass. And so there was this incredible, just fantastic violinist that played this role. And in about 5 years or 6, he decided that he got a little bit tired of the whole theater thing. And I just was so lucky that my mom was an assistant for this director that came to do this production, so they chose me to replace this violinist. And of course, I cannot even compare to him. Like, he is such a great musician. Just recently, this summer, so about 3 months ago, I started taking lessons from him, but it was just a 2 month program. Um, oh, bye, Kitty. She decided to leave me. It's fine. And so, yes, it was his role. And I guess that kind of pushed me into thinking that I really, really love violin, which was a surprise because my teacher, which was the first and I mean, the main one, um, she was a demon from hell. And it's not really an exaggeration. If you have studied music in post Soviet countries, you kind of know what I'm talking about when I say that, um, well, most of the teachers are so angry with you all the time. They cannot teach you anything, but then they just yell at you and nearly hit you to the point where you cannot breathe because of the fear you have. And um, hopefully the situation has changed in a while, but I wasn't so lucky as weren't my classmates, and we were really, really bullied and harassed in our academy. Yay! So that was the reason I didn't want to play violin when I was, a child, because the teacher wasn't teaching us. She just would yell at us and that's it. But then I just felt it for the first time. I just realized that, oh, I can control the sound and the way the bow touches the strings. It is so magical and tender and so unique of an experience, which is an experience with any string instrument which is bowed, because you really feel the soul of it if you aren't abused while you are playing it. That's the main thing, to be honest. And so I was planning to study violin professionally, but then I also found the love for composition, and it just kind of grew on me, although I've been studying composition since I was 7. And well, I have written some pieces at the time, but it was forced, and I have felt love for it only in 11th grade. So 9 years after all of that, which is crazy. And then I started writing music. I started searching for my own style. I was fortunate enough to have a teacher that immediately, when I was 7, showed me the music that was modern. So I was aware of Impressionism and Modernism and contemporary music, even years before we started learning those movements uh, as in music history. So I was really, really a learned person. Um, so that helped me to be open-minded about things. And so in 11th grade, I got interested in electronic music. And that's where my journey as a composer started. And I still consider myself a composer first, although I don't write that much music anymore. But I feel like this happens just because I have had periods of time when I would write music every day, or to be frank, every night. And so I have experimented with a lot of styles, a lot of instruments, and um, sound textures, things like that. So my most recent projects are just me singing in Welsh. And I have become very passionate about it. So I have made several albums with me singing, which is really inspiring at the moment. Now, let's talk about my visual arts for a second. So, for years, I wouldn't call myself an artist. I would just draw with watercolors, and that would kinda be it. So I consider those times to be me just learning and things. I still have some of those paintings, but again, I don't count them as my true works. And then in 2020 I continued with the watercolors, but in 2021, well, that's when my mom bought me a drawing pad that I use to this day. And so that was something I dreamt of. Obviously, it wasn't an expensive thing, like I think it's one of the cheapest ones, but as everything I own, to be honest. And so I kinda experimented with digital art for a little bit, but then I saw that, it's difficult, so I stopped for a while, like a couple weeks or a month, I don't know. Then I continued and then I stopped, and so this journey lasted for, I think, 2 years of me just coming back and then, going away from it. And then a war started. And well, the situation was that I didn't have my drawing pad anymore, and I had to buy another one which is sold already. My mom sold it. And in 2022, I really started going into that. I got passionate about visual arts. I realized that I really want to learn how to draw better, and I experimented with different instruments, different techniques, and well, I wouldn't say things were working out, to be honest, for a while, because my first painting, which I consider a painting in my style, I have created it in 2023, so it was 2 years ago. And that was a painting of a jotun. Oh, I would like to tell you about my artist name. Oh, okay, so just, I need to remember that I have to talk about this after I talk about my art journey. And so, I think throughout 2023, I was still looking for something, but I have already found my true style and technique, which finally inspired me to do more. Um, and I saw some progress finally after all of this time. Just like I've done with composition, I've also started like weirdly, and something was just trying to be like other composers, and then I just realized who I am, And that's when your journey really starts. And so the journey of Jotuns is quite an interesting one because if you know Norse mythology, you know that Jotuns are considered monsters. And so that's what I've been thinking about when I started. So, one of my first paintings, although my first painting was a really, really scared little Jotun, so that's a spoiler a little bit, flash forward to me now, I guess. But then I lost that tenderness for a while and I tried to make these paintings, I guess, scary in a way, to portray them as monsters. And well, it worked out for a while, but then I realized that just doesn't feel right for me. That is not what I want to create. And so in 2024, I kind of changed up a little and I drew some. Oh, what are those creatures called? So they have like hooves instead of legs, so they are like pen. Um, Jesus. So, they are called a fawn, right? And so I have made a couple drawings of them, and they would obviously not be monsters. And I saw kindness in them, which then traveled into Jotuns, and that's how my imagination and perception changed completely. And since then, I have started to make them into such kind creatures that well are still perceived as dangerous and maybe unfair for some, and maybe they're unpleasant for someone because they are so cold. But for me, they are the cutest, the most insanely small creatures you can imagine. Although I still consider them giants, but for them they are just regular. And so, oh, you can see my cat again. Oh, that's so cute of him to help me. um, so that was my journey with Jotuns. And then this year, about a half a year ago, for some reason, I have decided to start sewing Jotuns, Jotun dolls, and that was really fun. I haven't done that in a while. So the last Jotun I sew was a Jotun for my mom that I made for her birthday. Birthday, yay! Um, because it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I mean I need like 3 days to complete a Jotun. Oh no, oh no, sorry, my cat is walking on my laptop. That is terrifying. I'm so sorry for this pause. So I guess yes. What was I talking about? Jesus. Oh no, Kitty, you have betrayed me. Oh yeah, so making those Jotuns isn't easy at all, and I have posted stuff on the internet trying to, sell a concept of it, meaning that you can commission or order an individual jotun that would be created just for you, but haven't gotten any orders, so it's fine. Honestly, I don't feel so good physically, so I guess it's for the better. I'm just hoping that at some point in my life it would be possible to grow as an artist. So now let's change the art subject up a little bit, and let me tell you about my name. So why am I frostjotun, and why do I create everything around jotuns and jotunheim? Well, I am a little bit afraid to admit that, but the root of it all, the root of my artistic identity, is Loki Luffy's son. Unfortunately, I was influenced by Marvel many years ago, and so I think it was like, wait, it was like 7 years ago, um, when I have become a Marvel fan, and honestly, I have become that just for Loki. And so the first movies were Thor and stuff, and then I just it started a whole journey of me liking Marvel, but that's not the point. So like a year maybe went by, and I was already composing music, and I was already writing poems and maybe some prose, I'm not sure. And I started thinking, I have such a regular name. I have a name that, so many people already have in my country and maybe somewhere else. So there is no chance for me to have any success unless I either change my name, or if I just create a nickname, an artist name. And well, the first answer that came to mind was something about Loki. And obviously, I wouldn't call myself anything about Loki because that would be really weird. And I obviously have thought that, he's a half Jotun, and I like mythology. I've loved it since I was a child. And so maybe I could, take this identity of a Jotun. And it correlated with my even physique, with my body, because my mom has always told me that, I'm always cold. And whenever I am cold, she's like, oh, like your skin is blue. Like, are you cold? I'm like, yeah. Um, and so I have blue skin, and very often I have red eyes because something is wrong with me, which I'm not sure what it is. Still, well, that's a topic for another episode that will be coming out. I don't know when, but I will film it. I promise. And so I was like, you know what? A Jotun sounds just incredible. Now that will be what I am. But what do I add to that? I cannot be just Jotun, A Jotun is a creature. I need to add something. But I guess I wasn't too creative, so I just said, well, frostjotun, as if cold, and I tried to make up something better. I was unsuccessful. As you can see, everywhere I am still frostjotun. and it is my, official signature and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I wish I could change my legal name at some point, but it's so much paperwork. I'm not sure I really want to do that, although I hate my birth name. I hate it so much, especially since, well, I can talk about it now because, again, this is the introduction episode. So I should tell you things about me personally now. I am non binary and I am Ukrainian, so our language is very gendered, as many languages are. Like, it's not something that is terrible, but to people like me, it is sort of painful because any word you say about yourself, about a verb, about anything, honestly, is gendered. And there is no really a simple way to talk about yourself in like they them or in the middle gender that like it. You could, but I mean, people would consider you weird, and I already am super weird even without it. So yes, this is one of the reasons why I don't like my name, because it is gendered. And any time that anyone talks to me or about me, they talk about me as a female person, which I am not. And I mean, not to be too stereotypical, again, I'm against it. I am woke, so if you are not woke, if you are asleep right now, just go back to sleep and stop listening to me. I'm not gonna have any discussions with anyone about these topics. And so, yeah, um, Jesus, I forgot what I was talking about. So, oh, I have invented my own speech pattern where I talk weirdly, but at least I don't have to talk about myself as in multiple, or, sometimes I talk to my mom about me in third person, but it's fine. Like, she gets it, although she doesn't know I'm non binary. I'm not comfortable with sharing that. But with other people, it's just an infinite chess game to how to not react to those other pronouns and how to just speak the way that you wouldn't out yourself unknowingly to people you are not really safe around, I guess. So yeah, that's also the reason I'm not changing my legal name, because I'm really scared of people. So that was a segue about my name and my gender. My name, my gender, my favorite Wonka. Sorry. You cannot see that, I don't think, in the video, but I have a Wonka garland, by the way. I dreamt about it when I saw it in the cinema, because I've seen Wonka about 13 times in the cinemas with my mom. It has become my favorite movie of all time, because here is the thing. As you could guess, um, I am neurospicy, right? I mean, it's not completely like diagnosed officially or anything, but I have been suspecting that for years. And I've researched it, all the symptoms, all of those like specific things that they don't write in like general information stuff. So I am pretty sure I am, you know, I have the thesaurus, or how is it called? And so, yeah, I have remembered that, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was my favorite book when I was a kid. And I was imagining just eating those sweets. I guess I felt like a Charlie in a way, a little bit. And so, yeah, I dreamt about a Wonka garland, but at the cinema they said that, we cannot sell it to you for some reason. And then my mom gave it to me. I don't know how she did that, how she pulled it off, but yeah, now it's in my room and I am incredibly happy about it. So that was another segue about me and Wonka. Hee hee. Now let's maybe return to the arts so I can finish this little segment. So I have said that, the music stuff, the art stuff. Well, I also like paint on fabric and on a plywood, I think, because it's really cheap and I get some for free. Whenever, people don't need it, they could just give it to me, and that's how I make my paintings. Or I just cut up like old sheets that aren't used at all, that are like decades old, and I put them on my how is it called? Not dresser, but Jesus Christ. Oh my God. So, cupboard for my clothes. I'm sorry. I just completely forgot the word. And so I just hang it up, and that's how I paint. It's really cheap this way. Yeah. Next, I am a poet. And so I started with the poetry and other types of literature when I was literally 5 years old, which is crazy. I still remember my first poem that I wrote when I was 5. It was about summer that is full of colors, that is leaving, but the soul is still full of joy, something like that. I think those were the first and the last words of joy from me. Since then, I have become too depressed, I guess. I don't think I have ever felt joy. So sorry about that. A little distraction. And I keep distracting myself. I'm so sorry, but that's okay. What was I talking about? Poetry. Yes, and recently, my mom found a book that I wrote when I was 6 years old. And I literally took like pieces of white cardboard, and I think I stapled them together, and I wrote a story about, like, I remember there was a peacock and someone else, but no idea who that was. And I like made some drawings there, so, and now I have written 6 books. So that's a crazy thing to think about, don't you think? Yeah. So, my poetry, journey was also interesting, I guess, because, well, the poems that I remember vividly when I started taking it seriously were when I was about 12, and those were sonnets. I was writing, like trying to write like Shakespeare for a couple years. Then those poems kinda, progressed into avant-garde stuff. So I started using some slam poetry or different rhythms, and then, those were in Ukrainian and stuff. Then I started writing in English, which I I guess sometimes it's fine to write in English, but this language doesn't really inspire me for poetry, and so yeah. And about a year ago, I started writing poetry in Welsh, and I started singing it, and it's so special to me, I guess. This language is so beautiful. It is so unique, and I feel such a connection to it that whenever I sing in it, even though I'm not fluent, I'm just trying to learn it, still the singing part of it inspires me so much that no matter what, if I have some words I want to share, well, Welsh is the way to go. So that was the literature segment. I mean, I have written some theater plays, but they are terrible. And what else? What else? I have written some prose things, but I cannot call them novels because they aren't big at all. I'm not a fan of huge projects that take a lot of time because, well, I tend to change my styles or my main topics, and unfortunately, because of that, I need to work quite fast and stuff like that. So that was that. And now I want to talk about theater, but just for a little bit because I haven't had much success in it at all. So my first performance was when I was 10, and I just played an orphan, a kid that read a poem and then stole some candies and tangerines. So it was a really small part. And my second role was the violinist in Moliere, which was so incredible. Like, I miss this production so much. It ended only because the main actor unfortunately died right when pandemic started, and unfortunately, um, they just for some reason did something with the scenery, so it was impossible to renew the production, and I miss it so much. But next role of mine um is a nightingale in a fairy tale, and what's crazy about it is that actually this fairy tale was the first ever premiere after the war started in Ukraine. So we were the first people to have produced something, and it happened in a short period of time. So, like, my mom and I, we worked on the play. So it's Andersen's fairy tales combined kind of together. And we had only 9 days to rehearse it with a couple other actors. And so, yeah, because the creative director has called my mom and said, we need something to distract people, especially children, from all of these explosions and all of this stress. So we really, really need a production right now. And we did it really quick. So, yeah, uh, this role is very dear to me. And my next one was in another performance. Well, I just dance for a couple minutes in the beginning there. It's kind of a solo part, but not really. I don't know. And then in the second act, I am a violinist there. Now, the third role was in an Othello production, which also isn't a real role. It was also added. I also play violin there, and it was just unexpected that suddenly, like, I had some little small scenes with another actor, and that was kind of it. So yeah, it's really fun, it's really interesting, and I like, well, I love performing. It's just kind of, it's a little bit sad that my character appears in the beginning, like in several scenes, and then I'm just a violinist, and my character has no development or end or anything, honestly. And then, oh, there was also a production which still exists, which is not in the National Theatre that I work at. It's just on the side where I sing some French songs. Yeah, I also love this role. It's like the opposite of me. I play it angrily a little bit. I'm always irritated and stuff like that. So it's like I am a maid there. Yeah. And my final role was, well, a year ago. I mean, all of those performances I still perform, except the first two because they don't exist anymore. And yeah, so this role was for a production of Treasure Island, and I have written all the music there. It's kind of a musical, and so I sing there, I play violin, and a bunch of other instruments. We literally have, uh, we the musicians, there are four of us, and we have this whole like piece of a ship that is separated, and it's filled with our instruments. Like there is a double bass, there is a my violin and guitars and pan flute and other things. And so yeah, we play a bunch of instruments there. We sing a lot, stuff like that. Oh, and about the composition. Sorry, it's my first time, recording a podcast. So let me just quickly say that I have written music for theater productions as well. And my first one, like, it doesn't exist anymore as well. It was about, well, this play doesn't exist. It was just actors making their own story about their relatives that they never met. So it was kind of interesting. That was my first theater work as a composer. And then I wrote music for the fairy tale. Um, and the next one was my favorite production of all time. I wish I could play a role there, but you know, no one suggested it. It was Leslie Ukrainka's like a play called In the Field of Blood. It's about Judas and like some kind of dude, I guess. And it was also like one of the first productions since the war, and I loved it so much. So I wrote like the whole music of it. That it was a big piece that was cut up into different motives. Yeah, so stuff like that. And then there is this performance for the home's sake, um, by Ivan Franko. I wrote, so it has two acts already, so that was some progress. And yes, all the music is mine there. And the last one was Treasure Island, which demanded 10 months of work from me. And it was so stressful, it was demanding, and I had a very bad musician there. But things turned out that way, that he had to leave without even me like doing something to him. So yeah, it turned out great. So there are like songs, there is acoustic music and electronic music, stuff like that. So that's some of my composition work. Other than that, I just make music. I I distribute it to platforms, and no one listens to it. And yeah, the financial side of it would be in another episode, because there would be too much to talk about, honestly, too many stories to tell. So yeah, I guess that is the introduction. That is the first episode. Um, I mean, I am planning to talk about some of my health stuff in another episode, although again it would be just me whining. I'm not sure if anyone would listen to this or watch this, but if you did, thank you. Jesus, how did you manage to do that? How did you manage to listen to this part? Come on, I'm not that interesting. So yeah, how can I end this? Well, oh, and I started streaming about 3 weeks ago on Twitch. Yeah. So my name is frostjotun live there. If you're interested, you can follow me. For now, I stream cooking and baking and practicing violin and piano and singing and some sewing, stuff like that. So uh, I'm just a baby, and I feel like I'm 2 years old. What else? What else? I love Wonka. I already said that. Uh, my favorite color is some type of Wonka magenta, but a little bit with a gray undertones to it, so it's not really um saturated, but it's more of a deeper and more interesting colors. So yeah. Oh, okay, I guess this is it. This is the first episode. Oh my god, I've done it. Hopefully everything will turn out good. So yeah, thank you, and now I'm gonna say bye. Bye.